Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crushing Land. It's our first Crushing Land of 2022. Hard to believe it's 2022. Seems like just yesterday we were worried about Y2K and the world coming to an end, and now everybody else is worried about the world coming to an end for other reasons. But anyway, it's 2022. We want to have an amazing year. We want to kickstart you guys off right. So as you can see, Ginis, or maybe you can't see because maybe you're listening to this, but if you're with us watching, you see Ginis is with me here today. We're going to do this one together and come to you and talk a little bit about business and some tips for 2022 if you're listening later. Like I said, Ginis is here with me as well. And so welcome, Ginis. And let's kick this star off, right? Let's have an amazing year for ourselves and for everybody that's watching with us, right?
Absolutely, man. For everybody listening and watching, before we do get into the tips, I just want to remind everyone of the all-new Real Deal Land training that we're doing live in the group and on Zoom starting January 10th, next Monday at noon Eastern time. We want to start the new year off with a bang, help as many people as we can, help those that are struggling get off the ground, those that are doing stuff really take it to that next level. So make sure to tune in 12 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time, starting on Monday. If you want reminder emails, go to flipthatlandclass.com and register.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, guys, and a lot of what we're going to be going over today, we're going to go into deeper then. Because a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about, we're talking about setting, you saw it in the title or maybe in the description, setting yourself up right for 2022 and kicking this year off with the bang and jumpstarting this year. But in reality, it's your business. It's from this point forward. It's every year. We do this each and every year and multiple times through the year. So it's like how to really run your business and how to jumpstart it at all different times and how to keep it going and making sure it's flowing and all of that. So, that's why we're going to talk the first thing. It applies right now. If you're brand new, if you're not brand new, it still applies to you. You saw Ginis's post on this the other day in the group. If you're in there, and people were commenting. If you're not in the group, feel free again, join the Land Method group as well on Facebook and be able to have this interaction with us. But that point is about setting goals. You need to continue to do this all the time. So right now we're talking about starting off the year and things that you want to do. So how do we do that? How do we set goals? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to be realistic. In fact, one of the people the other day that made goals, he posted quite a few, and he admitted, he even said, well, maybe these aren't realistic, but that's okay because he realized that, and he was setting up a number of goals, and some of them, if they happen in a couple years or something, or a few years down the road, who cares, right? They're still realistic goals for him at some point. It just may not be in 2022. But the thing is, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. If you are brand new to land investing, you don't want to sit there and say, I'm going to drive and create a 7-figure business in 2022 when you haven't even sent out a piece of mail yet, or you haven't even done a single deal yet. You need to be realistic, but there is realistic goals that are in there. Saying that you're going to create a 6-figure business in the first year, that actually is very realistic. We'll talk about that more next week, about how you can go from a single deal all the way to 6 figures in a year. But you need to be realistic with your goals, but you have to set them high, but attainable. And then you also have to be accountable to yourself, right? With these things, you have to be able to follow through. You have to say to yourself, I'm actually going to do it. You can sit there and say, I'm going to create a 6-figure business in 2022. But if you don't get off your butt, if you don't put any work in, if you don't do anything, it's not going to happen. $100,000 isn't going to just fall in your lap. You need to actually follow through and do things. And part of that is holding yourself accountable, which is why we often say, write your goals down and keep them next to you. I always talk about how I have them like right here on the side of my desk and things like that, so that when I'm actually working throughout the day and doing things, I see them. They're always kind of right there, and they're forefront in my mind because of that. And it helps to keep me accountable. And there's other ways that you can be held accountable. Again, we'll talk about that in our training next week as well. But again, you really want to set realistic goals as the key. Set the goals, make them realistic, make them a little lofty, because you don't want to, don't set a goal of I'm going to do a deal in 2022. That's stupid, right? Anybody can do that, honestly. So, multiple deals. Your goal, you may set a goal. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, challenge yourself, man. And just remember the effort that you put in is what you're going to get out of it, man. at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, and going through, like, you know, the second tip is educate yourself, right? Whether you're going to be doing things the free way, you don't have a ton of money to get started. There's a ton of free training out there. You do have to kind of try to piece it all together. And there's some people that really grasp it and are able to do it. Others, not so much, right? Others need more hand holding or need more help or need more direction. And that's where, you know, at that point, you need to look at investing into a course, into a coach, into other trainings that are out there. And we're not saying, hey, come join our training only. You can go join any training you like. Decide what, again, as I spoke to in a few Crushing Land series ago, decide what's best for you, what avenue, what you're looking to do. Educate yourself. If you've been trying it the free way and it hasn't worked, let's say you tried 2021, you didn't spend any money investing in yourself, then you need to do something different, right? If you don't change, what's going to change, right? If you don't want to kind of put into work and whatever you've been doing hasn't been working, you can't continue to do it the same way. So this is where you need to really hone in, decide exactly what it is that you want to do. Going back to tip one, creating those realistic, challenging goals for yourself. And then, you know, doing your research, deciding what's best for you and really taking action.
Yeah. And when people talk about education, I mean, in reality, people say, like, I figured it out myself. That's nonsense. Nobody ever figures it out completely themselves. They got a course, they bought they may have done limited things. Maybe they bought books. Maybe they sat there and they read for hours and hours and hours and kind of pieced it together based on that. But they didn't just sit there and, like, figure it out. You know, it's like, so to sit there and think that that's going to happen isn't going to happen. You're going to have if your goal is to, like, I'm going to try taking it all in free, you know, with YouTube and things like that and reading and all that. Fine. But there's going to be a lot of time invested at that point to get there. So you have to realize that. I mean, that's just the way it is. There's no way around that. It's just like anything else. I mean, are you going to go to, you know, are you going to go work with a doctor that hasn't gone through the steps necessary to get the education, right? You know, are you going to go to an attorney that hasn't gone through it? Absolutely. So how is it any different in any other occupation? Are you going to hire a builder to build your house that literally just got out of trade school yesterday? Of course not, right? You have to have time to put the educate. It's true in every single profession. So, and that leads us to our next tip, actually, which is just taking action. You don't need to know everything. We just talked about that. You don't need to know everything to take action, right? You're going to learn things as you go along the way. But the key is, I made a post about this, I think yesterday or the day before, about taking continuous baby steps. You need to keep taking those steps. Some people do look at that ladder and those rungs are 10 feet apart and they're trying to jump from one to the next. And that's a big, giant mistake. That's not the way it works. You need to keep taking little steps at a time and growing your business. And that's part of it too, is that mindset. This is a business. Treat what you're doing as a business. Real estate investing is your business. It's not a hobby. It's not something just to dabble in. We have people that have sat there and they're saying, oh, you know, I work full time and I make $50,000 a year. And then I do real estate part-time and I make $100,000. Well, which one's the better business? It's not hard to figure out, right? So when you're talking about that, treat it as a business and where you want to go with it. You've got to take action to actually get off the fence and do stuff and look for ways to grow your business as quickly as possible. So again, it goes back to that analogy that I gave earlier with the doctor and the attorney or the builder or anything like that. They all started somewhere and they grew, right? That home builder grew because he worked for somebody else. He got educated and he figured out more and he grew it as he went. Maybe he worked for somebody else. Now he has his own construction business, or a doctor that's a neurosurgeon, right? He didn't start off working on the brain, right? He went through medical school and he did his residency and he figured out regular practitioner. And then he ended up taking extra courses and he worked underneath in the operating room and then he became a top neurosurgeon over years. So you start somewhere. That's the key. Start somewhere, take baby steps, take action. Just regularly take action, keep climbing that ladder, and you'll be surprised. I tell people all the time, you'll be surprised at how much those baby steps turn into big, gigantic steps if you keep taking them.
Absolutely. Like Nike, just do it. That at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So, going into the fourth tip, which is huge as well, don't give up. There are going to be times where you mail to a county and get nothing out of it. It's going to be a period of time where you don't do a deal, right? You might have momentum going. You got a few deals done in 1 month and then boom, you go a month and a half with no deals. It's it happens, right? It happens to all of us. It happens to Jonathan. It happens to myself. It happens to everybody where you go 4 or 5 weeks without a deal. Don't panic. Be smart with your money, especially as you're getting going, especially as you're starting to try to grow this thing out. Don't let that deter you. I mean, again, there might be times where a deal may fall apart, right? You have been working on a deal, everything looks great on paper, looks ready to close, and then boom, it falls apart the last second. It happens from time to time. Don't let that stop you or deter you from your end goal. Keep pushing, keep going. As a matter of fact, Jonathan just had a situation like this where 95% of us would have quit, probably including myself, to be honest, just because I don't like to deal with too many headaches. Whereas Jonathan, with all the experience that he's had of doing over 1,000 deals, was able to think through it before giving up and actually got some things done. Jonathan, talk about that deal, about that little deal you posted last week a little bit for those that didn't see it.
It ain't such a little deal, but yeah. I mean, I'll talk about that. One second. I'll go right back. One thing I wanted to say, though, is because Ginis said this, and I want to just tell you guys from a guy that's doing this regularly when he was saying, like, it always isn't there. You know, there's not always deals happening. That's absolutely true. In the month of December, we didn't do all that much, which is pretty common, honestly, because of holidays and things like that. But we came into January in a boom. It's like contracts flying out the door. I think there's 4 or 5 at the attorney right now that are ready to close. Somebody else said that they're going to be wanting to buy 2 properties that I have. Somebody else asked me to send an agreement, which I'm going to. So it's like the first week of January, I'm going to have like 7, 8 properties going already, you know, whereas that's more than the whole month of December that we did. So, you know, sometimes it's like you just have huge explosions and other times but if you have a business, you don't care about that, right? Because it's like you have them going and it's like money's in the bank and it's like, and you know, that's the way it's going to go. It's just, that's the way it is with everything. It's like there's cycles. And so it hits, you know, we're constantly growing over like a long period, over a year, but you know, there may be weeks where it's down and then up and then down and then up. So that's just the way it works. You have to understand that. But yeah, about that specific deal, a property that I had under contract, you know, and it was kind of funny. You know, I had it, basically they sent back a contract. It looked pretty good. It's almost an acre of land, nice area, nice cul-de-sac lot, public utilities minus sewer. And so basically in the meantime, I marketed it because that's one of the things we talk about, right? We get a property under contract, we market it. And the question I kept getting was, does it perk? Does it perk? Does it perk? Does it perk? Well, obviously I didn't know. And so I decided at this point, well, since nobody's buying it, let's get in touch with somebody to find out if we can find out if it does perk, because, you know, this has the potential to be making like $35,000, $40,000 in profit on this deal. And so I did that. As I'm getting in touch with this person, I'm finding out a potential buyer sees my ad right around the same time and reaches out and basically says, hey, this just failed the perk test. I'm like, no, it didn't. He's like, yes, it did. It's done. So I look on the county website, sure enough, shows a failed perk test. And so I'm at this point, I'm looking and I'm seeing that the county did the work, right? The county did the work and I saw them. And to me, it didn't make a whole lot of sense that it failed the perk test because the property actually looked pretty decent in certain areas. And it's pretty large. It's just under an acre. So I contact the soil guy and basically he, you know, says, you know, he does a preliminary look at it and he says, no, it looks like it's good from my perspective too. So at this point, I had to make a decision. Do I hire him or not? Or do I just let the deal go? He's $1,500 to go out and actually do the work. So I took a gamble and I said, you know what? Based on what I'm seeing, what he's seeing, let's send him out. Sure enough, he goes out, $1,500. He says, you know, this side of the lot is good. The other side of the lot. He said, this side of the lot's good where the soils are. You know, he says, I can see why they didn't go here though. He says, because it's a county employee. They're only going to dig 3 holes. They're going to go to the way of least resistance. And, you know, they're not going to go over here where it's, you know, grown up brush. He went over there. Soils are completely normal, conventional system, no problem. So at that point, I decided to, you know, just buy the property straight up because I knew it. And now I'm marketing it. He went through and did all the work. And now we have approved septic. And what's really funny is the person that failed, because the same county person, the person that failed the lot a few months ago is the same person that had to sign off on his thing as approving it and like signing off on all the paperwork. So we have all the same signatures and, you know, which is kind of like, you know, he realized that something was done wrong. But what's funny is, you know, the real estate agent called me afterwards, this real estate agent asking me for a copy of the perk, the improvement permit. So I sent it to her. And then afterwards, she tells me how she had the listing and she's basically all mad at me and saying that it's a lie and that I was deceitful because, you know, I was getting this work done, and it's all part of due diligence, which is fine, and how I defrauded her and how I defrauded the seller. And that's when I basically was like, so when I had the property under contract, you had no problem going behind my back, listing it for more money, ordering a perk, and working with your seller. And then when it didn't perk from your perspective, that's when you tell your seller to go ahead and sell it to me. So you're playing this deceitful game the whole time, but then you're calling me deceitful for doing a test when I have due diligence rights on the property. And of course, she just shut up and hasn't said a word since then. But
shady.
Yeah, it's like, what is there to say? And so that doesn't matter. The second point, because I own it, it doesn't matter. I have people interested in it. People are calling me about it now. And like I said, it's like a $35,000, $40,000 profit point that where we're sitting at now. Obviously, if I wanted to make I have about $10,000 into that property between the perk and the purchase price. If I really wanted to dump it really quick tomorrow, I could easily list it and still walk away with a $15,000, $20,000 profit, within days. So it just shows you what's possible out there by not giving up, following through. And obviously this is a little bit higher level. This is some of the stuff that we work with like our students and things like that, and figuring this stuff out. But that's the difference. One phone call, spending a little bit of money, doing a few extra little steps was the difference between, no deal. And now it's going to be, $35,000, $40,000, in my bank account.
But not only that, also is, one thing for all our listeners to remember is these are the type of situations that we can help you guys get through, right? Or as the majority are not going to train you on something like that, right? And this is something that you just can't train. It's like when it happens, you need the help. And this is what we provide to our students that we work with. Everyone, I just want to remind you guys also, don't forget tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Me and Jonathan will be live in a group answering your questions. We've decided to go at a later time to make sure we can accommodate as many people as possible. So make sure to ask a few questions. Make sure to join us live. Let us know what you're thinking. I talked to a few students yesterday over the phone that I've reached out to, and that reached out to me. And, they're going to ask some pretty good questions tonight as well. One student that worked with us, Julie and James Casey, actually, I talked to her yesterday and she said that she had a few questions for us. So she'll be asking. She said, I'll just wait till tonight instead of emailing you guys. So we'll answer them live for her. Also, due to us doing the Real Deal land training next week, we will not be doing a Crush and Land series on January 12th. So make sure to tune in to the Crush and Marketing with Deb from Rocket Print on 119. Where she's going to go over all the ins and outs of the Rocket Print, why it works, why it's, everything. She's just going to go over with you guys. So make sure you guys tune in live then. Until next time, man, we look forward to seeing you guys on tonight's call, and be ready to ask some questions, and we'll be ready to answer them. Anything else, Jonathan?
No, that's it. See you guys tonight for those who are watching live. And again, just a reminder, don't forget next week, don't tune in all week, all week long, new training for 2022, brand new stuff that we're throwing out there. Spend a lot of time putting this together, because that's one of the things we pride ourselves on. And people have said that we talk about what is going on now,
today,
not training that you heard in 2015 and you're hearing it again in 2022. We're not even giving you the same stuff in 2021 as we did in 2022. Why? Because things have changed. So make sure that you tune in next week for that. And then again, come join us the week after for that Crushing Land guest series. And just so you guys know, we'll bring it up really quick, is coming up soon as well in one of our guest episodes is going to be that same soil scientist. So I know we've had a couple of questions because people saw my post on that and asked about, perk tests and how that works and stuff. So you're just kind of teasing that out there, that's going to be coming up on one of our future episodes as well, so that you're able to hear from him and ask him your questions and all that and how that works.
Cool. Well, see you guys tonight, guys. Until then, y'all have a good day.
Have a good one, guys.